Hey there and welcome to the lesson Excel Read and Write from the First Steps course. Here you will read data from an Excel file and also write data into an Excel file. We will read a number from an Excel file and use it as an extrusion length to extrude a surface body into a cantilever beam. Then we will calculate the volume and the center point of that cantilever beam and write that information into an Excel file. This lesson will improve your data handling skills in Elise. Before we start building up the workflow, let's take a look at the Excel file that we will import data from. So this is the file, and here you can see we have a title for the column, and then we have 4 different numbers in here, or 4 different extrusion lengths. We start with this input. It's internalized and it's the base surface from our cantilever beam. And now we want to extrude it, but first we want to read in the extrusion length from our Excel file. So let's get the component read Excel file onto the canvas. And here I have internalized the path to our Excel file. You do that by double-clicking the related file path component and selecting your file, just like that. And then the sheet name is sheet 1. And now we have to tell the component which cells to read in. And for that we use the Excel cell range component, because we don't only want to read in one of them, but A2 to A5. Let's have a look again. So from here to here, those 4 numbers we would like to read in. And let's check out if it worked. So here we have our 4 numbers from the Excel file. But now we would like to use just one of them to extrude our surface. So we will use the list item component to select one of them. And right now it's the first one, 25. And with the number slider, you can change that. So let's say we want the one with the index 3. We can select between 0 and 3. So let's also put the slider accordingly. 3 the maximum, minimum is 1. And then you can toggle here. With the panel we can actually read. So here you can toggle between the different lengths. Okay, now we have to do a little bit of calculation for this row output. This is already in preparation for when we want to write data into an Excel file. And this logic will give the number of the row where data should be written. So right now we have the index 3, which is the 4th item. And actually, if you open the original Excel file again, you see that the 4th item, or the index 3, is in row 5. So the index plus 2 is the number of the row. 3 plus 2 is 5. And we import the number 75, as you can see here. So this is exactly what we want to do. So we will just add 2 to the index. If you type plus 2, you get it already set up. And now we have the number of the row. And we want to also export into the 5th row. Or if we choose a different extrusion length, in this case, we want to export into the 3rd row, so that it's according to the import file in the same row. Okay. The next step is to extrude the surface with the imported length. For that, we already have our boundary surface, and now we want to extrude it. You've already done this before, so you probably know how it works. We will extrude in X direction and by this extrusion length and plug it into your output container. So let's go back one step just to double check if everything's working as it's supposed to, and change up your extrusion length here. And as you can see, it works. All right. Make it invisible. And now we want to calculate the volume and the centroid of our cantilever beam. Use the volume component for that. And you can see the centroid here. We get the volume, which is this number, and the centroid, which is a point. Right, and those are already connected to the next step. So we know now the volume and the center point. Okay, so let's actually write that data into an Excel file. And as you can see here, I prepared some headers for the columns. So in the first column, we want to write the volume, and then the X coordinate of the centroid in the next one, then the Y and the Z one. And we will start with the headers so we can actually check and then continue with the data. So all the headers go in the first row, and these are the column names. So first I will merge these together to create the cell names. Let's have a look. So these are the names for our cells where we want to write this data. Okay, we need the component write Excel file. We already have our cells and our data here. And now we need to define the file path and the sheet name. For the file path, we will use the related file path component. So we will write into the same folder where this file is stored, this ELISA file. And then we can just use a panel, give a name, and the file ending. And if you press Ctrl Enter, the panel will resize to the minimum size. And also we need to enter a sheet name. And if you open the radio menu and use quotation marks and then the text, so sheet 1, and press enter, you will get this text written in a panel directly. Okay, so let's check. It reads true, so it was successful. If we open our folder, we can see this new Excel file here and open it. And here we have our headers written into it. Now we basically need to do exactly the same just for our data. And as I described before, we calculated this row number. So if we import the extrusion length from the second row, we want to write the data into the second row for this output file. If we read it from the fifth row, we want to write it into the fifth row so that it correlates to each other. To get the data, we first need to deconstruct the centroid to get those coordinates. So deconstruct point is the component you need. Okay, and now we want to create a list with the volume and the coordinates. So here we have our list. As you can see, so this is the data that we want to write. And then we will also need merge text again, but this time we use this row input. So these are our cells. And before you write into an Excel file, you need to make sure that it's closed. So for me, it's still open. I have to close it first. And now I can copy this component. I will exchange the cells and the data, and it also reads true. Let's connect these to the output and check out the Excel file again. And as you can see, I've written in the third row this data. Let's close it again and use the slider so that we actually go through all of the different inputs and write them all into the Excel file. Okay, if we open it again now, you can see that all of the rows are filled out and we have all our information. So there are like a few components that are there twice. That's never supposed to happen. The goal usually is to have a very clean canvas with like slim workflows because that means you're working efficiently and effectively. And the reason this is happening is that we are only working with single data values and lists here. And if we would like to only use this write Excel file once and also merge text, then we would actually have to work with tree structures, as this is a bit more advanced, especially if you have no background in programming at all. We're going to keep it like this in this first steps course to keep it light and easy. But yeah, if you would like to learn more about data structures, and especially in the future if you have larger workflows and you want to keep an overview and keep it efficiently, you should definitely check out our data structure course in the Academy. In this lesson, you improved your data handling skills by learning how to read data from Excel files and also writing data into Excel files.